I'm Karen Kurson, here with Retirement Daily on the Street. Today I'm talking to Sandra Adams, a financial planner at the Center for Financial Planning. She recently wrote an article for Retirement Daily called The Challenges of Living Alone in Retirement, and it's getting a lot of attention from our readers. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. We're looking forward to talking to you.
I'm glad this topic is getting so much attention. It's been out in the news, New York Times, and a lot of other big publications have been writing about the topic, so I thought I'd add on to the conversation.
Yeah, that's great. Um, how about just walking us through some of the key points of your article?
There's a lot of statistics around it. In fact, there were some key statistics that came from the U.S. Census recently, and which was one of the key statistics that I used in my article. 36%, so over a third of U.S. households of people over age 50 are going to be living alone. That's over 26 million people. And there are a lot of implications of that financially for people that are going to be retiring into that. So people over 50 living alone due to things like separation, divorce, widowhood, people who are never married, need to plan ahead, in my opinion, for what that means, both financially and socially. Um, and a lot of people aren't doing that.
Right. So what are the most common problem areas that you see with single older adults?
Identified in my article the top 5 challenges of what I call solo agers. And so I'll kind of walk you through what I think those top 5 challenges could be. Number one, people living alone have the challenge of social isolation. And the fact is, most people living alone, the higher percentage of people living alone tend to be women because women live longer, but men are actually more vulnerable to living alone. They tend to be more reliant on other people, and they can tend to be less socially engaged, which puts them more at risk for health and mental health challenges if they don't become socially engaged with others. So, making sure they're intentionally staying socially engaged with family members, with social groups, if they're living alone, can be crucial. The second is managing your own home. Can become a challenge as you age. So, it's easy for us as younger people to mow the lawn, keep up with home repairs and things like that on our own. But as we age, that becomes a challenge. And a 2021 AARP study identified that 90% of people want to stay in their own home as they age. And COVID really, that was always a high number, but COVID identified that as an even higher number. People that were in retirement communities ended up being more and more isolated from their family members when there were lockdowns. So people said, hey, I don't want nothing to do with that. I'd rather stay in my own home as I age. But then managing your own house becomes harder as you age. So we need to plan ahead for being able to do that. Making sure that your mortgage is paid off so that you don't have the financial obligation of having extra income to pay an ongoing debt obligation, making sure your home is modified so that it's safe for you as you age, and then planning financially to pay for help, paying for people to help you maintain it, mow the lawn, if you live in a cold weather state, to shovel the driveway and do those ongoing home repairs if you plan to stay there. Number 3, you don't have a built-in partner, a spouse or other partner to be your estate planning advocate, your healthcare and financial power of attorney as you age. So I have so many clients that are now divorced, widowed, or were never married, that they don't have kind of that go-to person to be their advocate. So you have to plan ahead for who that person is going to be if you become mentally incapacitated, or as you age, you just aren't able to make your own decisions or handle your own financial affairs, or something happens medically for someone to take over those decisions for you. So, there are professionals out there that you can name to be that person, or if you have a friend or family member. But you have to do that ahead of time. Otherwise, you end up, the court ends up being that person, and that's not something that's within your control. Not a good plan. You don't have, again, a built-in partner to provide care for you. So the statistic is, and it's been forever, that 70% of people over age 65 will probably need some kind of long-term care during their lifetime. And people that have care partners can stretch their long-term care dollars because they have a built-in person, someone to help provide some care within the home for a while, to help them stay at home while they need care. And they end up living longer because of that. But people that don't need to plan ahead for what the long-term care plan is, and you really need to plan ahead for how you're going to pay for long-term care ultimately, because it can be a bigger burden on your ultimate wealth. And the last one is single retirees solo agers have a bigger burden to bear when it comes to your overall financials, because you're relying just on one set of income and one set of assets, where married partners or others have two sets. When one partner passes away, you'll have perhaps a higher Social Security as a backup. You may have someone with a pension, where you still will have a portion of that pension to rely on when one partner passes away. You have, dual, sets of assets, 401ks that you've saved into over a lifetime, things like that. Where if you're a solo ager, you have your own, you're relying on your own savings and your own income, and that's it. So you have to be really intentional about how you plan it financially, how you spend financially, and for long-term care, how you plan for that perhaps big expense, and how you prepare for that aging plan overall, because you're relying on yourself ultimately.
So, a lot of the suggestions that you make, such as maintaining a home and hiring help, those need to be done while a person is still physically and mentally fit. Do you think most people reach a milestone or age where this planning needs to start before it's too late?
Uh, yeah, I mean, we always suggest sooner rather than later is always the best suggestion. You know, ultimately, you don't want to wait until the day before you retire to start planning for retirement. So certainly, a good 10 to 15 years before you retire is a better plan to start preparing for retirement. And we actually start building in this planning for aging right into our retirement plan. It's kind of an extended part of the retirement plan. It's your plan for your later years of retirement.
Okay, great. That concludes the specific questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, other than, remember that you're not in this alone. There are, lots of professionals and other resources out in the world for you to lean on, and don't try, this is not a DIY, do it yourself kind, or, not something that you can Google and try to do it yourself. This is your life you're talking about, and you definitely want to plan ahead and use the resources that are available to you.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much.